What if the reason you hate mornings isn't your fault? You wake up to your alarm, and before your eyes even fully open, there's already this heavy feeling in your body. Not just tired, but almost disconnected. Like your brain hasn't fully loaded yet. You sit up, check your phone, maybe scroll a little, maybe stare at nothing. And in that moment, it feels like you're behind the day before it even starts. And then you see those people. The ones who wake up early, go for runs, drink water like it's a personality trait, and somehow seem alive, functional, even happy. And you think, why is this so easy for them and so hard for me? So you try to fix it. You set alarms earlier. You promise yourself you'll sleep sooner. You even lie in bed at night, forcing your eyes shut like that's going to magically reset your life. But then something strange happens. The moment it gets late, really late, your brain turns on. Suddenly, you're thinking clearly. Ideas start flowing. You feel focused, motivated. You start planning your life, replaying conversations, imagining future scenarios, solving problems you couldn't even think about during the day. It's like your real self only shows up at night. And that's where things get interesting. Because most people will tell you this is a bad habit, that you've trained yourself to stay up late, that you're just undisciplined. But what if that's not the full story? Inside your brain, there's something quietly controlling everything. Your energy, your alertness, your mood, even your personality throughout the day. It's called your circadian rhythm. Think of it like an internal clock. Not the kind on your phone, but something deeper, biological. It decides when you feel awake, when you feel tired, and even when your brain works best. And here's the key part. That clock isn't the same for everyone. Some people are naturally early types. Their energy rises quickly in the morning, peaks during the day, and fades by night. Their brain is basically built for the world we live in, but others are shifted. Their clock runs later. Their brain delays the release of melatonin, the hormone that makes you sleepy. Their alertness peaks later. Their focus comes later. So while the world is waking up, you're still warming up. And while the world is slowing down, you're just getting started. This isn't a personality flaw. It's biology. There was actually research done looking at different chronotypes, which is just a scientific way of saying whether you're a morning person or a night person. And what they found is that these patterns are partly genetic. In other words, some people are literally born to function better at night. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because being a night person doesn't just affect when you're awake. It affects how you think. At night, something subtle happens in your brain. The noise of the day fades away. Fewer distractions, fewer expectations, fewer interruptions. It's like your mind finally has space to breathe. And when that happens, your thinking changes. You become more reflective, more creative, more introspective. You start connecting ideas in ways you couldn't earlier. You notice patterns, you replay moments, you analyze things more deeply. That's why some of your most random thoughts at night suddenly feel important. That's why you might sit there at 2 a.m. thinking about your entire future, or suddenly understanding something about yourself that you couldn't put into words before. It's not random. Your brain is finally in the right state to process things. There's even research suggesting that people who stay up later tend to score higher in certain types of creative thinking and abstract reasoning. Not always, but often enough to notice a pattern. And when you think about it, it makes sense. During the day, your brain is reacting. At night, your brain is reflecting. But of course, there's a downside. Because the world isn't built for your rhythm. School starts early. Work starts early. Expectations start early. So every morning, you're forced to operate at a time when your brain is still half asleep. And over time, that creates this frustrating loop. You feel slow in the morning, So you feel unproductive. You feel unproductive, so you feel guilty. You feel guilty, so you try to fix it. But when you try to fix it, your brain resists because it's not aligned with your natural rhythm. And suddenly, it's not just about sleep anymore. It's about identity. You start labeling yourself lazy, unmotivated, bad at routines, when in reality, you might just be out of sync. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine asking a night person to perform at their best at 7 a.m. It's like asking someone to run a race right after waking up. Technically possible, but not where they perform best. Now imagine asking that same person to work at midnight. Completely different story, energy, focus, clarity, same person, different time. And this is where the shift happens. Because once you understand this, you stop fighting your brain, and instead, you start working with it. You start noticing when you naturally feel focused, when your thoughts are clear, when your energy feels real, not forced, and instead of trying to become someone else, you start building around that. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore structure completely or stay up until sunrise every night. Your body still needs rest, and your schedule still matters. But it does mean you stop treating yourself like a problem. Because you're not broken, you're just different. And sometimes, that difference comes with strengths people don't talk about enough. You might be more introspective, more aware of your thoughts, more comfortable being alone with your mind. You might notice things others miss, feel things more deeply, think things through more carefully. And yes, sometimes that turns into overthinking. But it also means you understand things at a level others don't. And that's not a weakness. So if you've ever felt like mornings just aren't made for you, like you're always trying to catch up to a world that starts too early, maybe you're not the problem. Maybe your clock just runs differently. And maybe, instead of forcing yourself into a system that doesn't fit, you start understanding how you work. Because the same brain that struggles at 8 a.m. might be at its best when everything else is quiet. So let me ask you something. When do you actually feel like yourself? Not when you're supposed to be productive, not when you're forcing it, but when it feels natural. Let me know in the comments. Because once you understand that, you don't just fix your schedule, you understand your mind.